Hi, Zandy. Last year I was driving from the airport to a keynote in Silicon Valley, which, is one of the most foremost tech hubs in the world. And as I looked at the billboards that lined the expressway, it was just so obvious that nearly every software company felt compelled to mention how they had AI integrated into their tools. I mean, it was almost as if if you're not talking about AI as a software provider, you are ancient and you are irrelevant. And perhaps you've heard forecasts that say maybe something similar about project managers, that maybe 80% of a project manager's work will be replaced by AI someday. That's what some people are saying. There are tools, they claim to integrate AI. You just can't get away from the hype. Now, the truth is, no one knows exactly how AI will impact project managers and by when. And much of the AI integration is something that's just bolted on to an existing tool that allows them to say that they're AI enabled. So today, I wanted to have a conversation with some new friends at Keto Software who have been deep into integrating AI into their enterprise software for a long time. Veijo, Hytti, and Timothy Bull have been helping clients tap into the power of what they call AI Plus for years now. And I think you'll find their perspectives on AI and the world of projects to be inspiring and thought-provoking. Before we get into the actual discussion, I want to be clear that this is not a paid collaboration. I'm not receiving any compensation for introducing you to Keto Software. In fact, I was introduced to these guys by my friend Stuart Taylor, who he's got a great video on his YouTube channel where he talks about his AI journey. And if you're not currently following Stuart, I definitely recommend you check him out. And I put links in the show notes to his channel and to his LinkedIn profile. And one more thing before we start. So many people from around the world have already gone through our AI Made Simple course. If you haven't, a good follow-up to today's discussion is to check that out. Your peers around the world are finding it to be a motivating way to learn practical day-to-day use cases with existing AI tools. And they've radically scaled up their competence and confidence, and they're telling me how they're just reaping significant benefits in their work life. So combined with what you'll be learning today, it's a great way to prepare you for a future that will undoubtedly continue to be influenced by AI. Learn more and enroll in the training at ai.peopleandprojectspodcasts.com. Thanks. Let's get to today's discussion with Veijo and Tim. Hey guys, thank you for joining us on the People and Projects podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Let's just start with what drives us crazy. Okay, can we do that? Something that drives me crazy is when I see a post on social media that says something like this. Here are the 47 prompts that'll revolutionize how you manage projects. And the reason why I roll my eyes in those is I've tried some of those. If you typed any of those prompts into today's chatbots, they would give you a response, of course, but there's not nearly enough context for the tools to provide any discernible value. And so what's something that's being said about AI in general or about projects specifically that's driving you crazy these days? Veijo, let's start with you.
Actually, it's not what, but it's who. Because Elon Musk is driving me crazy. Because he was so right in the 90s about what's going to happen with the internet. And I assume that he's going to be right also with AI. So we should be listening to him, what he's been saying, because what he said in the 90s, he kind of forecasted things happening much bigger in a shorter time frame. But actually, things happened a bit later. Same will happen with the AI, except that it's happening much faster than internet. According to all of the research, AI penetration is much faster than internet. And what is really annoying me is that there are so many people who are always against the change. The change is happening. It's just how we get the fun out of it.
That's good. I like it. Yeah, Tim, how about you?
I think it's that sort of thing about those sort of potential changes up ahead, and also kind of people being willing to say, well, this is something we should embrace. I remember we were at the Project Challenge, I think in September 2022, and there was a big presentation there, and they basically declared that there were no use cases for AI or project management.
Yeah. I saw in your slide deck that you referred back to that. Crack me up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think others are sort of, they've underestimated how much is actually going to happen. And it's so exciting. The opportunities there are just absolutely amazing.
It
And
reminds me of the
I think,
story.
Andy, just what you described, I'm also getting really like crazy about, people writing in social media about, I have this experience and it didn't work. And that's the
Mm,
same what happened with the internet in the
mm-hmm,
90s.
mm-hmm,
And it's for
mm-hmm.
the same reasons again.
Yeah, yeah.
And in order to make it relevant or even competitive advantage, it's again the same thing like internet. Everybody, we have internet, and it's billions of internet users. You can Google anything, you can get all of the data that is available openly. We all can get it. So internet democratized the information.
Mm-hmm.
And now what AI is doing, I mean, without having your own kind of insights or data, it will do the same thing for all of us because it's great, it's open. I mean, we all can use ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
and but then in our case, when you add data that is not available
Mhm.
anywhere else, like if you have all of your projects, innovations, resources, strategies, all of your company data mixed with what the different AIs or language models have, then you will probably create even a competitive advantage.
Yeah, I'm convinced of it. When someone listening to us thinks of project related software, I think it's often they think of project scheduling or maybe task management tools
Mm.
and maybe up to enterprise level software. But Tim, how do you like to describe what Keto Software is in a way that would make sense to someone in a project leadership role?
Yeah, absolutely. So we call our tool strategic portfolio management software with seamlessly integrated AI. So the way I like to think about it is what our tool kind of does is there's kind of three legs of a stool or kind of three big types of questions. So the first sort of leg, so to speak, is around kind of strategies and OKRs. It's around things like what are the strategies, what are the objectives your organization is looking to deliver? How is it looking to fulfill them with the key results? How is it measuring them? And how are you ultimately tracking them? And it's that kind of question. Do those questions bring you out in a cold sweat when your management team and board ask you? Or do you feel confident in it? And on that kind of leg of things, Keto is designed to be very visually appealing, to have that information there at your fingertips. The second kind of leg is around the kind of what people call kind of project portfolio management, sometimes project and program and management, so on. And it's kind of like, are you doing all the right things in order to kind of achieve like the right projects, the right initiatives, programs, whatever you want to call them? Are you doing all those right things to achieve those strategies and OKRs? And then the kind of third leg, so to speak, is around then the resource management part of it. Do you have the right resources in the right place to achieve those strategies and to work through those projects? Does that make sense, Andy?
Well, yeah, and those are answers to questions that most people are not able to answer, quite frankly, right?
Mm.
I mean, that is like actionable. So the reason why I wanted to ask the question was, I think when people think project management software, they're just thinking this project or this task, and it's so much more all encompassing to help
Mm.
someone on their enterprise, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So let's say someone was actively managing their project portfolio, and they're using Keto Software, and it's time to start a new project. So Tim, what are some examples of how you've integrated AI to help with let's say, the startup of a new project?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of kind of big things. So for example, the way the kind of AI works within our tool, you've got things like content generation. So kind of what you can do is you can use the tool to help you with, when it comes up with, say, creating a PID, creating a business case, something like that right at the start. You can use the AI and everything built into it to help you with populating information. So starting a new project, you can have a lot of the structures and things in place to help you. You can also draw upon the existing data to help you with coming up with really strong things. Like, for example, I need to populate things like risks, all those kind of bits and pieces. And then the kind of another big part of the AI does within our tool is around AI portfolio analysis. So one of the things you can actually get the tool to do, you can ask it direct questions. So maybe you want to ask it, what three projects should we be launching next? Or what three projects what three new projects should we be creating? And the AI can then actually advise you and say, well, we think these are some of the projects you should be running. And then what you can do is you can then take that, and I can show you in a little bit. You can take that information and then pull that into a new project. And then very quickly, you've used the AI to say, okay, these are gaps we're missing to achieve these strategies. Here is where we can then say, these are the projects we should be running because of what the AI analysis has said. And then all that content generation piece can then help you populate and create that project quickly. So you're not having to sort of stare at that sort of dreaded blank screen. It gives out advice as a trusted advisor. Is there anything you want to add to that, Veijo? Sorry, Andy.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking if you go to ChatGPT or Claude or some of those, you could ask it similar sort of questions, but it just does not have any of the context to be able to answer them in anything more than some sort of generic way. So you have a way to take all that enterprise information, and instead of some generically trained model, it is being trained, or it can access the information that you have, that it can actually make intelligent responses, right?
I'd love to show you if you'd like it.
Yeah, let's do it. I know people listening to only the audio won't be able to see it, but I just want to make sure that everyone knows that if you're listening to this, that the interview itself, the video, is also on YouTube on the People and Products Podcast channel. So make sure you check that out. Yeah, let's take a look at it, Tim.
Well, let me see if I can share my screen.
Yeah.
Let me see.
By the way, Tim, I like the Legos you have there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. in all seriousness, Lego got me through lockdown.
Absolutely.
It's nice in kind of these sort of short projects you can sort of run, and it's very calming and all that kind of stuff.
Good old school, just getting your fingers doing it. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So welcome to Keto. So this is so to kind of give a brief before I sort of jump into a particular area. What we've got set up here is it's a no-code platform, so it's designed to be configured to your requirements. And this is just one way it can be set up, because it's also different ways. We work with lots of different customers. But if we jump into the kind of project portfolio level, and what we've got here is we've got a particular piece of portfolio AI analysis. And what we've got here is it's actually looking through different things that we set up with, say, different prompts. So here, for example, we've got future outlook. So it's drawing upon all that sort of information, all the project portfolio data that's in here. And it's saying, okay, so based on that, and bearing in mind those kind of three questions I sort of threw out earlier on, this, for example, is looking at, okay, what business strategy has got the most future potential? And then what I can then do is I can go down and say, okay, well, AI, show me these different things. So here it's looking at bar charts as well as text. I can look at things, for example, profitable projects. And I can look at, say, for a quick overview. So things like, what are the strategic fit, feasibility, and so on. So all this information, the AI can pull this together in a time when, to do this all manually might take hours. The computer, the AI, can do this really quickly. And then as well as having all the kind of prompt-based stuff, if I also ask it a direct question, so what I can say is I can ask it maybe something like, what are 3 new projects? Let's say, for example, 3 new projects we should do for our ESG goals, for example. Now, I'm sort of going to go through this quite quickly, so it's I'm sure you appreciate it's a bit of a fast sort of thing here. But what it's done now, I've asked it to come up with some ideas, and this is for a fictional energy company that's focused around renewable energy. And what I've done here now, and forgive me, people on the audio, but what it's come up with here is it's come up with 3 new project ideas. So it's come up with a community solar program. It's come up with a green building retrofit initiative, and then it's come up with a sustainable transport solutions. So now, Andy, these 3 ideas, so community solar program, green building retrofit, or sustainable transportation solutions, which of those 3 do you like the sound of the most?
Well, it's interesting. I could see all 3 being helpful, but let's dig into where I live in Chicago. There's been some focus on green building retrofits. So that was something that would maybe be relevant in the area that I live. So let's talk about that one.
Perfect. So what I can do is, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to do this fairly quick, just to show you kind of how it could be done. So what I'm going to do is, it's called the Green Building Retro Fit Initiative, and we're working on making this a little bit smoother. This is just an example within this demo environment.
Right, sure, yeah.
And so we've got this description in place. I'm going to set this particular colleague as the person in charge of this. So bearing in mind, this is what the AI, through its analysis of the portfolio, through its analysis of all our strategies, has come up with. So if I now create this project, now this has got a particular workflow that's quite a generic one, but you can have a set of different processes. Now within this particular one, here I'm looking at, okay, let's assign a project owner. I'm just selecting one of my colleagues. And then objectives and key results. Again, I can choose this. Let's say, again, this is all tied to your strategies. Things like, and I'm just picking a few things at random.
Sure.
And then what we can do is actually show you how fast the tool can then help you with setting these various things up. Mm-hmm. So if now go into here, so put initial project details. Now what I can do is, because Keto means meadow in Finnish, everywhere throughout the tool, you'll see these little flower buttons and purple flowers. And if I click on that, then I can get the AI to start working for me. So based on everything that's gone in here, the AI has now, I've asked it to come up with some reasons for the project, and it's pulled through several key things. So for those listening on audio, it's pulled about things like environmental responsibility, cost savings, enhanced customer satisfaction, regulatory compliance, positive public perception, and so on. And what I'll do is I'll just, for the sake of time, I'll just accept this. Now, what I can also do as well, I'm just going to go through these. And of course, we recognize AI as being a good trusted advisor, but you can go in and alter the text as well. I'm just accepting this now for the sake of speed, so to speak.
Yeah. But any of the current technology, you'd always want it to give you a draft, and then you go in and edit. This is just a more intelligent draft because it knows more about your enterprise, your overall objectives. Yeah.
And also, Andy, what we are doing at the moment, which is very exciting, is that now we're only connected here with the OpenAI. But in the future, it means that we will have like 3 different engines. So we ask the opinion of 3 different sources, and then we aggregate, and then we ask again. And then we get much more precise and better answers.
Makes sense.
So instead of having one trusted AI advisor, having like 3.
Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. And here we're generating benefits. And then what I'll do is I'll progress to kind of the next stage in the workflow here. And so we go in and say, I approve this. Obviously, when you're using this for real, you need to get multiple people to approve it and those kind of things. But for now, I'm just giving the approval. We're going to go through to the next stage. And now the tool has, you've put in this initial detail. It started to build up more of a picture of what needs to go on. And now I can actually start doing things. So I could actually ask the AI. Again, this is just a very initial version. I can actually ask the AI to start generating things like a task list. And then I can start populating things like resources. And I can also start building things like, for example, a RAID log. So here we go. We've got 3 different phases based on what's been worked on. And bear in mind, this is all what I've done in essentially 5 minutes. So I've gone from the AI, suggesting a project idea. You selected the project you like most of all because it was something very relevant for you, Andy. And now we can start doing various things. So if I want to say a risk log, I can then ask the AI to come up with some risks. Here we go. It's just thinking about it.
And then there are like much more advanced, not in this demo, but you can ask for like competing patents. And normally what takes, you have to take patent lawyers. It takes weeks or months to get the answer. You can get it like in a couple of minutes. And I can guarantee it's not bad quality. It's normally good enough. So this is like what I said. It's not like what people were underestimating internet in the 90s, trying to creating some kind of excuses. What can be digital will be digital. So wherever AI can be present, it will be present.
I love it. Yeah. So at this point, we got the AI helped us kind of sort through what are some potential ideas based on our overall strategy and objectives. And we were able to use our executive, wisdom to say, well, we think this might be better than that. So like, let's initiate a project. And in a matter of minutes, it's helped us put together really a foundation for the project. And that would be one example of project, but there's other things going on in the portfolio, existing projects. So let's say an executive or someone, maybe they're in a PMO, but they want to understand, how's our portfolio doing overall? And once again, today's chatbots are going to struggle to do that because they just don't have the context of the information. So instead of going to ChatGPT about a project issue, you just allow them to chat with the portfolio, I believe is the terminology you use. So what are some of your favorite ways of or types of questions that your clients will ask a portfolio?
Oh yeah, you had a few big ideas.
Yeah, for a typical week, if you think like a week, you start your Monday morning, I would need some new ideas. So I would definitely ask that, I have these personal targets, and I would ask that, give me some ideas for accomplishing my personal ESG targets or team targets. And then I think during the week, I'd like to, optimize what I'm doing and my teams are doing. And then if you think like a week, it's the most difficult decision always is kill your darlings. So because we are humans, so it's that's why it's so difficult. So asking AI, it's not serious. It's not like killing anybody really. So you can ask, and you can get like 1 or 3 opinions about that. It would be nice to end the week that, okay, I'm gonna make now some tough decisions, and I agree with this proposal that I got from AI.
Yeah. Could you ask it which projects are trending behind schedule, for example?
Which projects are trending behind schedule? Now, you can also, as well as asking it directly, you can also have this set up. So it could be in this portfolio analysis piece itself that's automatically generating. In this case, for example, it's got profitable projects requiring attention by AI. But you could also have that set up. What's trending behind. But I can ask it a direct question. So I might need to be a bit more specific on that. But then the beauty of this setup with the AI analysis is you could be very kind of specific, and you can have sections like this. For example, instead of profitable projects, you could say, what projects are running behind and why. Here in this example, you've got profitable projects requiring attention. So they've got a wind turbine, a water power plant, and it can actually say, well, what's going on here in terms of the resources or any other criteria you choose, and then why does it need attention? So you could have this automatically set up to generate that for you as well.
Yeah. So there's certain questions that ahead of time that you would typically want to ask, just like Veijo saying, like on a weekly basis, these are sort of things. And so you can set that up and it'll already be prepared. And, just with today's chatbots, often it's not just one query, one and done, it's ongoing conversations. So you can still have these ongoing conversations with the tool as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you think of another AI plus capability of looking at the portfolio that your clients love?
So there's a few other things. One of the other aspects we do is we've got now real-time text translation. So we work, for example, a number of multinational companies who have multiple different business languages. So if I jump into an existing project, for example, and one of the things the tool can do, you've probably seen this symbol here. So I've got here, in this particular case, I've got the project details. Now, what I can do is we've got integration. We've also got, I think, DeepL real-time text translation. So here, for example, I can have that translated into German or Finnish or there's about 40 different languages. It's just one example.
Well, it's critical that it has Finnish. That's critical right
Yeah, it's the most difficult language, and I don't want anybody else to speak it because it's kind of our code language. Until you find out that there are some Finnish speakers in amazing places. Like once I was driving in Florida in the middle of nowhere with my girlfriend, and we had a chat in McDonald's about something, and it's not the most obvious place to meet a Finnish speaker. And then somebody came to our table and said, "Hey, hey, hello. What are you doing here?"
But as organizations get more multinational and people tap into resources in other countries, being able to use a feature like that where it can just hopefully less is lost in their own personal translation, right? Because of their knowledge of a language or not, and so they can kind of see it and understand it better. And Tim, what did that take? I mean, that was like a second or two, right? I mean, it was just
it's really
translation.
Quick.
Yeah.
And this is what we talk about when it's seamless AI integration. So it's we're very conscious in the design of it that if it takes too long or if it's too complicated, people won't engage with it. But if it's something as simple as like clicking on a purple flower icon and you've got the prompts built in behind the scenes, we work with our clients and work with customers on making sure that the prompts are kind of getting them the right things they need. It's about making it really accessible and easy to use for people.
And everything is under control. And I think also it's really great that Microsoft is productizing OpenAI really, really well, because then organizations, they learn how to utilize AI. But of course, in like a Copilot case, you don't have this company internal data like we do. And of course, we are not limited to utilize like Microsoft tools, but all of the tools that are available in the world. Not the Chinese ones, but
yeah. Well, so let's talk about that, because what I love about this is it includes all that personal data, the company data. But I think one of the biggest concerns I hear people say is they're worried about data security and privacy, and that if they use these AI tools, they're just opening the door to the information being used in ways that they could hurt them or expose them. So Tim, I'm guessing this isn't the first time you've been asked something like that. So how do you respond to concerns about that?
Well, I would say they're very understandable concerns. I mean, if you think about, for example, in popular fiction, there are so many kind of like AI bad guys, right? The sort of brainiacs, the HAL 9000s, the Skynets. Well, I mean, joking aside, and then of course you've got people like Elon Musk who think that where there's a 95% chance we're living in a computer simulation already. Joking aside, that those are real legitimate concerns, and this is something we've worked really hard to address. Something we're seeing from a number of our customers is they are looking at hosting their own internal AIs. And the nature of the platform is that we can integrate with those internal AIs. So they run on their own servers and so on and so forth. And Veijo can talk a bit. We discussed a little bit about, the nature of intellectual property, what happens with AI and so on and so forth. On a kind of practical level, the way we tend to work with AI systems that we integrate with, typically what we'll do is we'll have an agreement where, a bit like a sort of data center, so any data that's sent over will be stored there for something like 30 days, and then will be deleted, just like a sort of data server where information stored for a bit due to anti-terrorism and crime legislation, and then deleted afterwards. And also as well, any data that's sent over, it would not be used to train the AI, because we recognize that that there are obviously kind of concerns. But I would also say on the other side of it as well is that a lot of cases you've got organizations now where they've got project managers and others who are maybe cutting and pasting that data from a tool, from a spreadsheet, whatever it is they're using, and then putting it in who knows which AI tools. So one of the things we kind of handle on a practical level is saying, okay, so by using like Keto with seamless AI integration, you can ensure that and there's also audit trails. So any data that's sent over, it's all properly audited. And again, with the prompt-based setup, you can actually configure and say, well, what data is actually being shared? So it gives you a lot of that control and a lot of that audit trail.
I like it.
And if we think about the benefits, like in, let's say, like creating new molecules or creating new battery technologies, I mean, they are so much bigger than what we see these dark sides. Of course, we don't know where it's heading to, and we have to have some controls. But anyways, I think AI is so exciting.
Well, yeah, I've never heard either of you. I've gone through some of your presentations. I've listened to some interviews. I've never heard either of you either say or even imply that we should just blindly be excited, right? And just not consider some of the challenges. So, Veijo, what are some genuine concerns that people should at least keep in mind these days from your perspective?
Well, I think it's what you learn in the Finnish schools these days. There are 7 pillars of learnings that people are learning, the young people in the school at the moment. And the first pillar is to being able to take care of yourself. And if you're not able to do that, we already see the results, what happened with the social media and people using 5 hours TikTok a day. I mean, it will have really harmful impact on the people. So you have to be able to take care of yourself. So we are still humans, and AI will broaden our understanding and thinking a lot, but still we are humans, and let's keep it like that. If we keep it like that, if we treat each other like humans, I wouldn't be that worried.
There's some research that said it's not important to be polite in your prompts, but I've had some interesting discussions with people recently that even if it doesn't matter my response that I get back from the bots, I still, and maybe it's just being Midwestern US personality, I still am polite to the bots. And I think there is something to not allowing the technology to take away our humanness and how we interact, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
It does a lot, and I'd love to see what the South African Elon is communicating with the AIs.
yeah. Well, yeah. I imagine it is interesting.
Hell, give me the answer now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm the same way. I'm over polite. I always say, please. I have this task. Could you please help me a little bit?
I did get into an argument with Copilot. I asked it to review an article and summarize with key quotes, and the quotes were not in the article. And so I said, those quotes are not in the article. And they go, oh, I'm sorry. And, because it's very apologetic, most of them. And it gave, these are the real quotes. I'm like, those quotes aren't in there either. They go, yes, they are. So I'm like, okay. I found myself arguing, but I suppose I could argue with humans too, but yeah.
One of the funniest things I heard last year was a student got caught out for using, I think, one of the earlier AI chatbots to write an essay. And the reason that this person was found out was because the AI invented some books that it quoted from. So he had these books that didn't exist. Yeah. And it was like, oh my goodness me.
But hey, Tim, about books, I think books are really interesting topic because people were saying that internet will kill books.
Right.
People are reading more books than ever. Internet is killing magazines. No, they're still existing in a little bit different format. We have new medias like podcasts that we didn't have in the 90s or before.
Oh yeah.
So it's and the media consumption is just growing. I mean, AI it's not gonna make PMO useless. It's the total opposite. We're just using the AI. It's helping us. We are getting rid of the work that we don't want to do. I mean, with internet we got rid of papers. I still love reading real books and magazines, but I also love to listen to podcasts. I mean, that's how it develops. It's
Yeah.
natural for humans. We are really innovative.
Yeah.
Uh,
Tim, what was your thought there?
well, I was going to say, I mean, I love rule books too, and I think also as well, there's going to be so much in asking the right questions, and there's going to be so much in there of like that's where a lot of human expertise can really come into play. You know, it's having that experience, asking the right questions, getting these right prompts set up. I mean, speaking of books, I'm a huge fan of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. And I love the bit in particular of there's this sort of alien civilization that invents the most powerful computer in the universe, and they ask it, what's the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. And this sort of super hyper duper computer takes something like 7.5 million years to come up with an answer. And then the descendants of the people that asked the question in the first place turn up to this computer and say, okay, what's the meaning? What's the answer? And the computer says 42. And of course, all the people sort of said, well, we don't understand the answer. And the computer turns around to them and says, well, you didn't understand the question.
Right. Well, there's some parallel here, isn't it? How you ask the question makes a difference. Yeah.
Exactly.
But you know, I remember when ATMs were coming out and people would say it's going to destroy banks or there will be no tellers,
Oh,
I think this idea is relevant because no one knows exactly what the impact of AI is going to be over the years, but there's historical reasons to believe what BCG said about a year ago, that this technology could create as many jobs as it will displace, right? So Veijo, can you think of any specific things that you'd recommend listeners to be doing this year to prepare them for some potential eventual futures?
Well, let's keep ourselves humans
Yeah.
because the world is so complex. Let's go back to basics, the simple human things. We can utilize easily much more technology than ever. We've seen a lot of videos how we can utilize like in healthcare where it's going to be very beneficial. But we are still humans. Let's stay like that.
Yeah. Tim, do you have any thoughts of things that people should be doing now or could be doing now to help prepare for the future?
I would say I would say be open-minded, be curious, and I would also say I'd also encourage people to try out some of these systems themselves. I mean, I had a couple of months ago, I was helping my 70-year-old dad with learning how to use ChatGPT and sort of explaining to him about prompts and that kind of stuff. And so I think having that open-minded attitude. I mean, AI has the potential to help us solve massive massive problems. And I think if we have the right attitude, if we're open, if we're curious, if we're willing to ask questions and willing to, as Veijo said, stay human, I think the future is incredibly bright.
Yeah. One of my favorite feedbacks that I've been hearing from people going through our AI course is I'm getting a better idea by practicing, right? By playing with it, what it's good at, what it's not good at, how to tweak things. And I think sometimes I am most fearful when I'm on the periphery. But when I engage and I interact, and then it takes some of that fear away, and I think it's very empowering once people start seeing, all right, what is it good at, and what is it not so good at, and why is it that a generic ChatGPT is good for these things, but when it comes to my project portfolio, it needs the context of the other stuff. You don't know that until you actually play with it enough.
Exactly, and to use something that Veijo mentioned earlier on about the internet, if you think about back in like the 90s and even in the early 2000s, the internet was still very new for lots of people, and a lot of people were very scared of it. But as they got to using it, I mean, pretty much everyone now uses the internet in some way, either on the phone or on a computer or something like that. It's become very, very common.
And still, on the other hand, like we've seen companies and organizations like in Germany, they are still doing what we did in the early 2000s. So it's 20 years time gap between the Nordics and like Germany. And I guess US is like the same level as the Nordics, but we have to remember that we have different like learning curves and and what's happening like in China now. That's a bit worrying, of course, because
And
they just have a lot of manpower, so it's.
And just adding on that point, one of the things I love about working for a Finnish company is how Finland is driving so many amazing innovations. And I can't name which particular customer, but one of our customers, quite a few, are really looking into AI in really deep ways that I think are maybe 20, 30 years ahead of many other countries around the world. It's absolutely thrilling. The level of innovation, the great things that are going to come out of it are very exciting and very positive.
Well,
Tim,
I'm
actually,
sure.
Sorry, Andy. Yeah, actually, one of our customers is Blue Force, and they are building all of those quantum computer boxes because they have to be minus, what's the absolute temperature, minus something, 138 or whatever, it's or 200.
Well, I share your curiosity. I share your anticipation, and I think if we maintain that while maintaining our humanness in it, there's so many opportunities. And I've got to believe someone listening to us, Tim, they're like, well, if I could actually see more of Keto, that might be kind of fun. So if someone wanted to learn more about your software, where's the best place for them to go to?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably the best place to go to is to our website, to www.ketosoftware.com. That's Keto spelled Keto. And best way to find out about it is there. And we've got all our links and contact details. So please feel free to go there and contact us.
And Tim, this is not a commercial, but I can tell you, I had a long chat with our CTO because the www is not working. It's without that, because he said that if somebody is still in the 90s typing in www, World Wide Web is even faster to say, then they are not our customers.
Oh my goodness.
It's like a little intelligence test. It's a way to qualify your customers. I like that.
If you're not even digitally savvy, so how can it be AI savvy?
Well, let me say this for those listening. I trust you found this discussion kind of intriguing and helpful. I really want to continue to get you to be thinking about AI in your career. So I put links in the show notes without the www where you can learn more about how to work with these guys. And Veijo and Tim, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the People and Projects podcast.
Thank you,
Andy. Thanks a lot.
Absolute pleasure.